Recording in progress. to the Finance Committee meeting. We'll start the meeting and call the order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you put the American flag up, please, Molly. Thank you. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion that we approve today's agenda.
I'll second.
The motion has been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Are there any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None. The motion carries. Any public comments, Molly?
No, sir.
Okay, no public comments. The next item on the agenda is approval of the August 12th, 2021 committee meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of August 12th.
Second.
The motion to approve the minutes of the August 12th committee meeting has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. The next topic, OE 6.6, fourth quarter FY 2021 financial statement. Ms. Crosby.
I have the honor and pleasure of turning this one over to Reggie Murphy this evening. Reggie's going to go over the report, and I will be available for any comments or questions afterwards as well. All right, Reggie. Oh, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. What we're presenting today is the fourth quarter financial report for FY21. It addresses OE 6.6 and OE 6.1, the superintendent shall not closures. All the figures presented are preliminary and unaudited. Changes to the numbers will occur before the annual audit is completed. Total general fund revenues at the time of the report were expected to be at 101.3% of the budgeted revenues. FY20 revenues were 100.3% of the budget amount. Local property taxes are projected to be 101.5% of the budget compared to 99.6% of the budget in FY20. Total revenues are expected to exceed the FY20 audited amount by $2.3 million. This can be attributed mainly to increases in assessed property values and subsequently the value of the mill. Delinquent taxes and tax penalties that are collected in July and August are accrued to the prior fiscal year. In FY20, that accrual was $1.5 million. For FY21, at the time of the report, $1.2 million was the projected amount of the accrual. We have received some more recent information from the county, and we think that number may be closer to $2 million. The interest allocation numbers were not available at the time of the report, but typically they end up being somewhere around $125,000. Due to the delayed issuance of the tax bills, our tax penalty revenues are way down this year. State revenues are estimated to be 100.7% of the budget. The largest contributors to the budget excess are reimbursement for local property tax and retiree insurance. Federal revenues are projected to exceed the budget by about 34%. It's tough to budget for federal funding because the timing is usually off, and E-rate's probably the one that's off more than any because it's dependent on when they receive it, when they approve it, and when they reimburse the funds. Total spending will be close to 99% of the budget. In FY20, the audit showed the spending to be about 95.4% of the budget. Support program expenditures are reported to be 98.5% of the budget, and intergovernmental transfers are projected to exceed the budget by 9.2%. That excess is probably due to the increase in Riverview charter school payments, which were greater than the budgeted amount due to a revised payment computation because of an increase in their student enrollment. Chart A summarizes the general fund activities, resulting in a general fund balance that
Could you
will,
speak to the mic a little bit more?
excuse me?
Could you speak into the mic a little bit more? Could you speak up? You sound a little low.
Chart A summarizes the general fund activities, resulting in a general fund balance that will be approximately 18% of the FY22 budget expenditures. The general fund budget is anticipated to increase by $5.3 million, bringing the total general fund balance to an amount greater than $50 million. The GFOA best practices recommend that we have a fund balance that covers 60 days of expenditures. The 50 million plus balance will provide approximately 66 days of expenditures. And then you have the three attachments that cover the general fund revenues, expenditures, and then a synopsis of all funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
What I would propose that we do now is, Molly, if you would show Schedule A. Yeah, go back down. That's Schedule A right there.
yeah.
Any committee members have any questions about the figures in Schedule A?
No, I don't. Rachel does.
Rachel, please.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily have a question about Schedule A, but it was kind of in regard to the narrative about Riverview Charter School. I wanted to inquire about that and how, I know you said it had something to do with a change in the computation or in the method or the calculations that we use for their funds. I wanted to ask about how we collect the revenues to go towards Riverview's charter school. It's my understanding that federal and state are on a reimbursement, I guess the spend, and then they reimburse us for the charter school. Is that correct?
I can take that one. We do not, okay, let's see. When we receive revenue from the State Department, the number of students at Riverview are included in our enrollment numbers. So in essence, we are funded for those students through our general fund dollars, state dollars. For example, EFA dollars would include, they're based on a student count number, so those students would be included there. There is a state law which dictates the funding formula for charter schools, and it basically takes a calculation of all revenues. So you would take, say, $256 million, divide it by the total number of weighted pupil units for the school district and Riverview students, and multiply that by the number of students at Riverview. So they would receive an allocation based on that formula. So we don't receive money specifically for Riverview, but it is their money flows through us and is paid to Riverview based on that formula each year. We pay monthly actually to them.
And is that the same kind of for the federal funds?
It is not. For special revenue funds, each fund is restricted in a certain way and calculated and allocated to the school district in a certain way. And we use the formula that is used to calculate our allocation as the same as the allocation that we will calculate to compensate them. So we have a special revenue document and every category of funding that they're eligible for, and the method in which the calculation method and the criteria, the data that we're using, and the dollar amount that they are eligible for. So it's different because every pot of money of revenue, special revenue funds, is allocated in a different manner, a different calculation.
So that essentially the Riverview charter students and the way that we reimburse, or not reimbursement, but their students are paid for, is different from our standard students, and that's kind of what caused perhaps a discrepancy here, along with that calculation change. Correct?
Well, their changes are it could have been a couple of things. A few years ago, there was an increase in enrollment that we had not budgeted. It was an increase of, they went from 19 to 20 students per class period, and that proposal was brought before the board in a document, a multi-page document, and was never really discussed openly with the board in their annual renewal. And so they increased enrollment, and the budget, when we went to allocate funds the following school year, noticed an increase in enrollment, but had not budgeted for that. So this was about 2 years ago, I believe. So then that budget, then we had the pandemic year, the budget held flat once again. And so this year we had to increase, this coming year, we had to increase their budget. So that attributed to one of the items. The other thing is a fluctuation in revenues. When this revenue number jumps up, when it increases larger than our projection, that would also cause an increase in the allocation that was given to the charter school. So if we hadn't expected an increase, say a $2 million excess in tax revenue, then, and that's what we had budgeted for allocation to Riverview, then that would change and cause us to go over budget. So it's a combination of things.
Thank you. And to take a page kind of from Mr. Stribinger's book, I'm just trying to see if I can understand how that's working, because I know that the instance that you mentioned 2 years ago there was something that kind of slipped through, and I want to make sure that we're learning our lessons on those things and making sure.
Oh, definitely. I looked very closely at the annual reports, and I made everyone aware, the attorney, inside general counsel for the school district, as well as members of senior staff, that is a critical piece of information. We need to be carefully reviewing those annual reports. And if there's any indication that enrollment is increasing, we need to know about it and be able to budget for that. So
thank you very much for answering.
Mr. Campbell, you had your hand up. Did you have a question?
Yes, I was going to ask Ms. Crosby, do we know what the delinquent taxes, how much right now at this point?
Reggie, you might be able to help me out.
What was the question again?
Delinquent taxes. Because our delinquent taxes, we put in the $152 million number in the unaudited column here, ad valorem taxes, including delinquent, that is current, auto, and delinquent taxes. So we've accounted for some of those taxes here. I believe we receive about $4 million a year or so. Is that?
I can look real quick.
Yeah. We did show a decrease in those taxes this year because there was the tax bill delay caused a shorter span of time. And so there were fewer delinquent taxes on the rolls this year, as well as penalties.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's around 4 million each year. So.
Okay, can we go to then any questions on, I have one comment or question on Schedule A. Is there any other questions on Schedule A? Okay. Reggie, on Schedule A, the other the on local column, other, unaudited actual 957,984, which was approximately 160,516 less than we anticipated. Can you give me what the other, what is in that other column?
Hold on. Just a second.
I think I can help with that one. Rentals is one category of the other. So rentals, the P card revenues, and receipt of legal settlements are three of those categories inside of the other. Rentals were down due to our the sale of Burroughs Avenue. So that's one reason for the reduction there. And our P card revenues were down slightly from the previous year. Let's see. As well.
We did have a legal settlement of 129,000, or almost 130,000 from the
Yes.
from the SCANA lawsuit.
The SCANA lawsuit. The SCANA sets due to the nuclear power plant.
Okay.
Is that correct?
That's right.
You know, in the future, it would be very helpful when you have other, and you mentioned other places, if you would just footnote
Okay.
what the other is, just so we could, you know, other makes me uncomfortable a little bit. So if we could do that in the future, it would be appreciated. Any other questions on Schedule A? Molly, could you show Schedule B, please? Any questions on Schedule B? I have one. Schedule B, payments to other governmental units, the total of 627,577. Could you please explain what that is, please? That's in the expenditures column.
The majority of that is the charter school payment. Payments to other governmental units would be to either to group homes or facilities where special education students are placed in other facilities, as well as Department of Juvenile Justice, and the charter school payments are paid in that category as well. So for the most part, that overage is due to the charter school.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
And the fund balance. Yeah, well, I wanted to make a comment on the fund balance. Basically, what it tells me is, of course, our fund balance grows this year because of assessed value of property has gone up, and our expenditures were lower because of COVID impact. So I was looking at the reason for the $6 million plus increase in fund balance. And I saw that 3,000 of that was due to expenditure savings, and the rest of that was to increase revenue as a result of increased tax assessment value of the mill. When you brief the 66% being more than the 60% that the standard governmental accounting agency recommends, a 60-day supply, that's good for governmental agencies that have a much more consistent revenue stream. And I don't want the public to think, okay, wow, we have now got too much fund balance, when we don't if you consider the fact that we have a very limited revenue stream from the end of June until the middle of December, when tax revenue comes in from the tax bills that go out in October. So I'm not sure. I think we've had a goal that we put down for fund balance that is more than the 60-day supply. And that's why, to me, I don't think that we should say, okay, we can now lower our tax rate because we're collecting too much money. We need to rebuild that fund balance so that we don't have to borrow $17 million that we're going to have to borrow this year to get us through the budget cycle until the property taxes start coming in December. So I just want for the public to understand that it's a good thing that we're spending less and we're gaining more. And someday, hopefully, we can come to a point where we have sufficient fund balance that we don't have to borrow any money to get us through the rest of the fiscal year. So that's just a little editorial comment based on what we saw in the narrative. Are there any other questions on Schedule B? Okay, can you show Schedule C, Molly? Are there any questions on Schedule C? I would like, again, the other revenue that totaled $5,902,867. I assume that is ESSER and federal. All right, I don't know. What is that $5 million?
Was that number 5,902 is that you mentioned?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So the top category, that is all local funds in every category. So under, so those are for various sources of funds, say for special projects, special revenue projects, those would be local grants for our schools. Capital projects, it may be interest income. Excuse me, interest is right above, I'm sorry. Other local, I'd have to break out that one. I can't recall all of them, but there's various, each fund has various other local funds. So we can certainly break out and provide you all with a listing of which categories that relate to those amounts. The ESSER funds are actually in the federal programs. And so the special revenue projects funds of $10 million.
Okay.
And so that is the category that is relating to those funds.
And then the other objects and expenditures, 434, again, another other.
Mm-hmm.
What are the other objects?
Other objects are bond fees in the capital projects fund. So those would be bond expenses such as the bond counsel fees, the financial advisor fees, the Moody's rating agency fees. In the debt service fund, they would be other bond related expenses. So we can certainly provide some details about those as well.
Any other questions on Schedule C? Any other questions on the document as a whole? Do I hear a motion to recommend to the full board approval of? Yes.
Yes.
Good. Who said that?
Who said that?
I'll get a feedback. Sorry.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to recommend to the full board that we approve the fourth quarter FY 2021 financial report?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend to the full board that the full board approve the fourth quarter 2021 financial report. Are there any discussion? I'll wait till it gets typed up. Fourth quarter FY 2021, 2020-2021. There you go. Okay. It's been moved. Yes. All right, we're ready to go. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Next object on the agenda is future topics. Anybody have future topics that we should discuss?
I don't know if it's a future topic or not. I was going to ask Tanya. I know that you're bringing ESSER updates to the Finance Committee, and then those are going to the full board. I wasn't sure when the next one was going to be, and the main reason I'm asking is because of our most recent action for the not to exceed $2 million for the dual modality.
Right. So when looking at the calendar, I do not believe that we're going to be able to bring the ESSER update to the committee and then the board as well. And the timing didn't work out quite right. For example, August 31st ended on a Tuesday. Documents are then due to the board for the Finance Committee the following Monday. So that gave us 3 calendar days to really prepare, and then there's a holiday. It was a holiday in there. So unfortunately, the timing does not give us much. It doesn't give us much time to be able to provide the update to the committee. So I would request that we just be able to give that to the full board. It does give us a full week extra, and that would be my request on that. So
That's fine with me. I just wanted to know when we were going to take a peek at it. So
yes.
It doesn't have to go on a future topic for us then.
Okay. It will be on the next board meeting for sure. We're planning on September, I believe it's 21st.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any other topics?
Nope, I don't.
I do have a couple topics I'd like to propose that we talk about. Number one, I'd like to have an update on the mill rate that is going to be set out on the tax bills coming out. I think that has to be voted on by the county council. I'd like to know the status of what it's going to be as we go forward for this budget year, frankly. And the other issue is I'd like to have an update on fiscal autonomy. And what has been done since we made the motion in the full board to explore fiscal autonomy from the county council. I'd like to get an update. Any other requests for future topics? Tanya, do you have anything that you need to bring to us?
Yes, sir. I do have one item. I believe I generally sole source and emergency procurement. We are required to bring before the board I think twice a year. I generally do that with the Minority Women Business Enterprise report, but I failed to do it accidentally this past time. So I'd like to bring that one before the board.
Any objection?
None.
Okay, good. Any other topics?
No, sir.
Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
A new record. Thank you very much.
Okay.